It's a strange feeling. You spend time with people, nothing dramatic happens, no arguments, no conflict. Sometimes it's even enjoyable while it's happening. And yet, when it's over, you feel drained. Not tired in the physical sense, but more like your mind is slowly powering down. You want silence, space, and maybe a long stretch of doing absolutely nothing. If you've ever noticed that feeling after socializing, you might have wondered what exactly causes it. On the surface, it doesn't make much sense. Humans are social creatures. We're supposed to enjoy connection. So why does it sometimes leave you feeling empty? The easy explanation people usually hear is personality. Introverts get drained, extroverts get energized. That's the common story. But that explanation doesn't capture the full picture because many people who feel drained after socializing aren't necessarily quiet, shy, or antisocial. In fact, they might be the ones doing most of the talking. From the outside, they look perfectly comfortable. The exhaustion appears later. And the reason often has less to do with talking and more to do with processing. Social interactions are full of tiny signals, tone of voice, facial expressions, small pauses, and changes in energy that most people barely notice. Some people move through these signals effortlessly. They react in the moment and move on. But others are constantly reading the room. They notice when someone's tone shifts slightly, when a joke lands a little awkwardly, or when someone seems a bit quieter than usual. Their attention moves across the room like a radar, quietly scanning the emotional atmosphere. Most of this happens automatically. You don't consciously decide to analyze every interaction, your brain just does it. And while it may look effortless on the outside, that constant awareness requires energy. Imagine walking into a room and unconsciously tracking 10 different emotional signals at once. Who seems comfortable, who seems bored, who might feel left out. Even while you're talking, part of your attention is monitoring the environment. It's like running multiple tabs in your mind at the same time. Individually, none of these processes feel overwhelming, but together they create a quiet background workload that builds up over time. That's why the exhaustion often arrives later. During the conversation, your brain is actively engaged, responding, adapting, and adjusting. But when the interaction ends and the stimulation disappears, your mind finally notices how much work it was doing. Sometimes the draining feeling comes from something even subtler, not just reading the room, but managing it. Some people naturally take on the role of emotional stabilizer. They smooth over awkward moments, keep conversations flowing, and make sure nobody feels excluded. If the group becomes quiet, they start a new topic. If tension appears, they lighten the mood. None of this is done in a calculated way. It's more like a reflex. Over time, people recognize you as the easygoing one, the accommodating one, the person who makes things feel comfortable. But while that role makes things run smoothly, it also places an invisible responsibility on your shoulders. When you're the one maintaining the atmosphere, you're rarely just participating in the conversation. You're also quietly managing it. But even that isn't the deepest layer. The real reason some people feel drained isn't just emotional awareness, it's emotional positioning. In many interactions, people unconsciously adjust themselves to fit the emotional space around them. They soften their opinions, laugh a little earlier, or hold back thoughts that might complicate the moment. It's like tuning your voice to match the key of the room. When that becomes a consistent pattern, you begin carrying multiple versions of yourself into different spaces. The version that feels easiest for this group, the version that works best for that conversation. Each version is real, but switching between them still requires energy. It's not the people themselves that cause the fatigue, it's the quiet effort of alignment. And the real reason isn't what most people think. It's not about confidence, it's about control. When someone grows up in environments where emotional tension felt unpredictable, the brain learns to prioritize harmony. Social awareness becomes a kind of protective system. If everyone feels okay, then the environment feels safe. Interestingly, people who experience this kind of fatigue are often the same people others describe as easy to talk to. They're attentive, empathetic, and they notice things others miss. But that same awareness that helps others feel comfortable can quietly pull energy inward. Empathy doesn't just observe emotions, it feels them. Over time, those small emotional signals accumulate, and after hours of interaction, the mind simply needs space to reset.
Silence becomes restorative. Solitude becomes grounding, not because you dislike people, but because your mind finally has a chance to stop adjusting. Social energy isn't only spent through talking. Sometimes it's spent through observing, adapting, and quietly holding the emotional atmosphere of a room together. When you've been doing that for long enough, stepping back into silence feels less like isolation and more like recovery. But this pattern is only one small thread in a much larger story. Most of the time, we don't even realize we're doing it. But once you start seeing that pattern, a lot of other behaviors suddenly begin to make sense. I explored that missing layer in the video right here. I'll see you there.